Alrighty, hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our August Demand Trends webinar. Today we're going to look at the latest trends across enrollment, job postings, and Google search data to spot where student demand's rising, where it's cooling, and where there might be some room to grow. We're also going to do a quick program of the month spotlight. A couple of housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded and we will email the slides and the recording to all registrants afterwards. Please feel free to use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen for any and all questions as they come to you, and feel free to take a moment right now to introduce yourself and your institution in the chat so folks can connect. Finally, we are having a giveaway today, and I'm going to hand the mic over to our AVP of Marketing, Marianne Romans, and she's going to reveal the details of that program profile giveaway. Marianne?
Thank you, Regan. And thank you all for coming. Before we dive into that content, I do have that exciting announcement. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here. As you know, with many of the conversations we've had with you, with other provosts and academic leaders, one thing comes up again and again, and that's the challenge of making big decisions with incomplete data. And you need to know your investments in a program will pay off, that you're preparing students for what's next. And this kind of clarity only comes with a truly comprehensive data set. And that's exactly what we're giving away today. So I'm going to go out on a limb here because Bob, who normally does our webinars, is away this week. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give away a free comprehensive 30+ page program profile report for a program of your choosing. And this is not just a basic overview, it's a full data and insights package. So you'll be able to make the best, most confident decisions on your programs. The report is valued at almost $3,000. So if you're interested, what you need to do to be entered in the drawing is you must fill out our form to request a demo of our software during this webinar. Simply click the link that our team is dropping into the chat here. And then after you completed your one-on-one demo, you'll be officially entered into the drawing. To make your chances even better, since we do have a lot of people on our webinar today, for every 10 demos requested, I'm going to add another chance to win a $3,000 program profile report. So if we get 20 demo requests today, we'll give away 2 reports. If we get 30, we'll give away 3. So you got a good, good 10% chance of getting one of these. We'll announce the winner or winners once the demo phase is complete. So keep an eye on that chat for the link. Make sure to take that next step, and you could be walking away with your report of the program of your choice. Now, with that exciting news out of the way, let's turn our attention to the main events. And we have Elizabeth Atkins to get us through. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marianne. My name is Elizabeth Atkins. I'm a VP at Gray in charge of our economics product. Happy to be here subbing in. And let's get started and looking at the demand for higher education programs. So what we've got on our agenda is what exactly a program evaluation system is, student demand, employment, our program of the month to be disclosed later, and a quick summary. So what is a program evaluation system? It allows an institution to look at growth opportunities and determine how to enable sustainable financials. The first piece of that is making sure that each program fits in with the mission of the institution. This is a qualitative aspect of a program evaluation, and it's easy to lose track of, especially from our perspective, where our systems are really focused on the data. It's always important to keep that in mind, that the mission is part of why we are all here, to keep that the institution running as a whole. And the other piece of that are the academics. So your academic standards, looking at how students are completing their programs and courses, whether there are accreditation standards, if there are programmatic specific licensure requirements, everything that goes into making sure that you're offering the best quality programs that you can. The next piece is the markets, which we'll cover today. And that is looking at the external market demand for programs. So evaluating student demand, employment opportunities, competition. And finally, the last piece that we believe is important, and that goes to the financial sustainability. are the margins. So what contribution margin each program generates as a piece of its overall contribution to the institution, and how that fits into the overall viability. And around that, in order to make decisions with all of this information, you have to engage with the right team across the institution. Next, you have to provide them with the right information. So there are pieces of information that are necessary to provide to your key stakeholders. Next, you need to make sure that there are good processes in place to evaluate your programs. Once you have the right people engaged with the right information, then you can evaluate. And lastly, managing this process on an ongoing basis. So a program evaluation system is not meant to be a once in a while thing where the accreditors are coming around for their every 5-year review. Our systems are really meant to support an ongoing management process. Next up is student demand, specifically Google keywords. So the Google search trends for programs, what we track are searches for over 900 programs, and those 900 programs cover about 90% of the US degree completions. In 2023, we're looking at a relatively lower volume in June. There's a large increase in 24, and in 25, we're seeing a tiny dip. But overall, for the first half of 2025, Google searches for academic programs rose 19% year over year. So there's been an increase in interest in academic programs in the way that we track them via Google search. In terms of the fastest growing programs via search volume in the first half of 2025, so those first 6 months that we were just looking at, searches for sonography ultrasound tech programs grew by over 1.5 million searches. And you can see that there are 5 programs in the health space that are amongst the fastest growing, including medical billing and coding, medical clinical assistant, LPN, and healthcare administration. The highest search volume for keywords in the first half of 2025, the largest volume was for the search term econ, followed by trade schools and cosmetology schools. And you can see the rest of this list. With an online business administration degree being quite specific to exactly what students are interested in down to the subject and modality. Next up for student demand is enrollment. Looking at the fall and spring terms of total enrollment at community colleges have continued to see total enrollment on the rise. And so what we're looking at from 23 to 24 to the most recent academic year of 24-25 is a 5% increase in certificate and associate enrollment. So up from about 9.9 million to 10.4, 10.5. For total enrollment at the bachelor's and graduate level, bachelor's and graduate level have increased 2% year over year. So at the bachelor's level, the scale is much larger. We're talking about growth from 16.1 million to 16.4. Master's and doctorate level programs is still a 2% growth, but on a much smaller scale of 5.8 to or 5.77 to 5.87. In terms of the fastest growing programs at the associate and certificate level for total enrollment in fall and spring terms, general studies had the highest total enrollment growth, far and away. The next program closest in growth was health services and allied health general, followed by business administration. And so we can see that 3 on here are health related. We have 3 career and technical related programs, and then 3 kind of in that other category, one of which is general studies, so general degree completion program, and then we have business, cybersecurity, and engineering. At the bachelor's level, finance grew by over 41,000 students. The next closest and a very close runner-up was registered nursing, followed by accounting. So at the bachelor's level, we're seeing a concentration in the business area with 4 of the top fastest growing programs in that business and finance area, 2 in the health area, and then 4 in the STEM area. So engineering, cybersecurity, and data analytics or data science. At the master's and doctorate level, the half of the fastest growing programs were related to health. So we're looking at registered nursing, social work, mental health counseling, F&P, and an MD. The fastest growing overall, though, at the master's and doctorate level is in business analytics. The other business and finance related program with large growth was economics. And you could argue that data analytics and data science is business adjacent, as well as, and then we have some more tech-oriented cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. Next up is international student demand. And in July 2025, international student interest in US programs fell 55% year over year. And you can see that the trend downwards has continued as we move through the 2025 year. The most dramatic has been at the master's level with a 62% decline year over year. Bachelor's is more moderate at 33%, as well as doctorate at 35%. In terms of where the country's students are coming from with interest in attending US institutions, the highest volume was from Bangladesh, followed by India and Pakistan. Next up is sort of the reverse of the fastest growing, but these are the least declining programs in terms of international student interest. At the bachelor's level, finance was the program with the smallest decline in international interest, followed by health services and allied health, kinesiology, linguistics, etc. And then at the graduate level, we're looking at chemical engineering with almost no decline, as well as educational leadership or administration and counseling psychology. Next up for student demand is Coursera enrollment. So we look at Coursera to capture non-degree demand. So looking at smaller bite-sized courses that students are interested in, more skills-based. And as of July 2025, Coursera had almost 150 million learners since 2012. And in July 2025, the highest enrollment volume unit change was in AI for everyone. Not surprising, AI is a really hot topic right now. People are interested in it, want to learn more, understand how it applies to them on a day-to-day basis in their job and their lives. And so we're seeing that with the largest volume year-over-year change. Then 3 of the 10 top courses were also related to artificial intelligence. So the other 2 courses are just a general introduction to AI, as well as machine learning with Python. So getting into the more technical aspects of how to actually conduct analyses using Python coding language. Then the most taught skills on Coursera, so continuing on with what Coursera is delivering to students, the highest change in volume is in data analysis, followed closely by data visualization. So you can see that all of these topics are basically data related in the technology space, whether that's related to AI, data science, or specific skills within that realm of SQL language or spreadsheet skills. Next, we're going to pivot to employment, looking at the current indicators. So looking at US job postings trends. So in July, US job postings, the total volume fell 4% year over year. And we've seen that in 2025, the volume of job postings compared to 2024 has been lower since April. So from April through July, we have seen that the volume has been lower than it was last year. In terms of the highest job postings volume by occupation for July, the largest volume was for general and operations managers, and the second largest was for retail salespersons. And we have one other sales occupation that came up to the top in terms of largest volume, which was sales reps in wholesale and manufacturing. 3 were in the healthcare space, registered nursing, nursing assistants, and home health and personal care aides. And then we have some one-offs. So we've got heavy and tractor trailer truck drivers, admin assistants, software developers, and customer service representatives. For the fastest growing job postings, we have software developers in applications specifically, with the largest growth far and away in July in terms of year-over-year unit change. The next highest volume change was in general and operations managers, followed by payroll and timekeeping clerks. And then we have about 4 of these different occupations related to sales and marketing. So marketing managers, sales reps, sales managers, and parts sales people. And some interesting one here, coaches and scouts. Apparently people are looking for some coaches more this year than they were last year. As well as some data entry keyers and financial and investment analytics. The skills that are growing in the US July year over year is focused in operations. So not surprisingly, with the interest in AI that we were seeing, there is a growing interest in automation. So a lot of what AI can help with is automating routine tasks and moving those forward at a faster pace than basically we've ever seen before. Same with operations. There are many ways that AI can enhance day-to-day tasks in ways that were not previously possible. And so we're seeing that operational efficiency show up at the bottom of the list as well. Going hand in hand with that, we're also seeing analytics, Python, computer science, and business operations. So all, you could argue, related to potentially the growth, the quite dramatic growth in AI, and the need for people to understand how to use it and implement it within their jobs. There are commonly available data sources to link programs to direct preparation occupations, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So the NCS Direct Preparation Crosswalk looks at mapping the Bureau of Labor Statistics jobs to academic programs. And this is, so direct preparation, easiest way to think of this is looking at nursing students who've studied nursing going on to become nursing, to move on to the nursing field. That's a pretty straightforward line from programs to occupations. And so that's what the idea behind a direct preparation job is that you study and you're specifically trained to go into determined fields. The example that we're looking at here is environmental studies. And just from the direct preparation crosswalk, we're looking at environmental studies students being prepared for 4 different occupations. So not surprisingly, natural sciences managers, environmental science and protection technicians, environmental scientists and specialists, and environmental teachers in the post-secondary world. And those are the 4 different occupations that environmental studies students are prepared to go into. When in reality, looking at over 41,000 bachelor's in environmental studies graduates, they actually go into 754 different occupations. This is looking at an alumni database of bachelor's degree holders in environmental studies, with looking at the first 4 jobs that they held after graduation. The largest one is the conservation scientists, but then the dark blue bars represent the jobs that would not be captured by that direct preparation crosswalk that limited environmental studies students to only 4 different occupations. And so you can see how much would be missed by looking only at programs, occupations that students are directly prepared for, when in reality, a lot of what happens are students use their learning in school and bring that with them into many different areas than what they were specifically studied. Especially as they begin to move on with their careers. We're seeing chief executives on this list for environmental studies. And so taking into account that people progress throughout their careers as well into higher levels of management. Next up, we're going to look at the program of the month. And the program of the month for this month is, and we're going to evaluate it based on student demand, employment, competition, and degree fit. The reason why we are going to look at using our PES markets to evaluate the program is because it is really hard to go through 1,500 or more academic programs and figure out what is heads or tails. And so what we've done is created a summary composite score to be able to rank and sort each program based on those 4 categories of student demand, competition, and employment, to be able to bubble up to the top out of 1,500, what are the highest opportunity programs, so that it's easy to sift through the top, let's say 20 programs and find which one's the best match for you and your institution, rather than having to go through 1,500 of them and not know which one could be the best fit. You now have a sorted list of the highest opportunities based on the metrics that are important to consider. And then you can go through from a top sorted list and figure out which ones may be viable at your institution. We're going to look at finance today. And so looking at the student demand for a bachelor's in finance, scores in the 100th percentile for student demand specifically. So out of about 1,500 programs, student demand for finance at the bachelor's level is the top ranking program. So what that means is it's a very large program, first of all. So the first 3 metrics that we track for student demand are highlighted. So Google searches are in the 96th percentile. International page views, so students coming from outside of the US who are interested in studying finance within the US, is in the 98th percentile. And then new student enrollment, so specifically in finance at the bachelor's level within the US, is in the 98th percentile, and completion are in the 99th percentile, and completions are also in the 99th percentile. The other important factor to look at is that we also have the ability to look at the interest in online versus on-ground programs. And so with that, the volume for both is substantial, but when you look at the actual values of the number of online students, it's 3,200 versus the vast majority of students who are completing this program on ground at 43,000. And so very viable online, but definitely worth considering that scale factor that most students are still completing this program on ground. And to that next point, only 7% of programs have online graduates. So this is still a predominantly on-ground program. When we look at how these metrics are changing year over year, Google searches are up 54%, new student enrollment grew 15%, and completions fell only 1%. So this is a large program, a decrease in 1% in completions. If we actually look at the percentile in terms of that completion volume, year-over-year percent change, it's actually right middle of the road. It's at the 58th percentile. So there are programs that have both grown and declined at a much more dramatic rate than -1%. So this program's pretty middle of the road in terms of the completion change. For employment opportunities for finance programs, it's in the 94th percentile. The first item to look at is that there's a large volume of entry-level job opportunities. This ranks in the 99th percentile. Current employment is very strong. So looking at another metric that ranks in the 99th percentile, as well as annual job openings. So there's a very healthy occupational market. The saturation in this field is quite low. So looking at entry-level jobs, the number of job postings per graduate and the number of job openings per graduate are in the high 80s in terms of the percentile. And we're looking at almost 2 job postings per graduate and about 1 job opening per graduate. And those 2 values, again, rank in a pretty high percentile. So in comparison to other programs, this program is much less saturated than others. Wages are very healthy for this program. Looking at entry-level wages, it ranks in the 77th percentile at $61,000 and change. Post-entry median, so looking 4 years after graduation, is up significantly to $95,000, almost $96,000, and in the 89th percentile. Then the interesting piece here is the wage potential with a master's degree. So this is looking at people who have gone on to earn a master's degree. We're looking at $124,000 as the post-entry median. And then just as a note about how many of these students graduating from bachelor's in finance programs are going into the direct preparation jobs that we were talking about before, about 40% of graduates are going into direct preparation jobs. So this is actually quite a high percentage, even though it's less than half. So you can see that by the 92nd percentile. So this is a relatively high program in terms of sending students into directly related fields. But again, if you look at that value, you still have to think about the 60% of the other students that you're teaching in this program and the fact that they're not going into directly related occupations to finance. In terms of alumni employment, so looking at people who have graduated with a bachelor's in finance, almost 353,000 graduates from over 8,000 institutions go into a total of 773 occupations. So following that idea of direct preparation, this is that 60% of people that go into other things other than direct preparation. Top of the list, we're looking at financial risk and investment analysts, so definitely a direct preparation, then chief executives, financial managers. And so going into definitely areas that are related to finance in terms of the top 10 jobs. Competitive intensity for the program ranks in the 79th percentile. And so this is important to pick apart exactly what this means. So in terms of overall volume of competition, it's not surprising that this program is very competitive. The number of campuses in the national market is 661. So that's 661 unique bachelor's programs in finance across the US. That ranks in the 2nd percentile. So it's one of the largest programs in the US at the bachelor's level. Now, in turn, it's also one of the healthiest programs at the bachelor's level. So we're looking at the average number of program completions. So per institution, how many graduates each institution is producing. And that's at 66. It's almost one of the largest programs at the bachelor's level. So even though this is across the board one of the most popular programs to offer, it also is consistently graduating high numbers of graduates per institution. And even with that, there's been a slight growth year over year in terms of the number of completions per institution. Now, getting to another not surprising part, it's a big space to play in. There are lots of students who are attracted to the program. It's really expensive to market. So we're looking at a cost per click of $14, ranking it in the 14th percentile. So this is one of the more expensive programs to market. And the Google Competition Index is also ranked low. So this is a higher competition area to actually purchase those keywords to attract students. In terms of an online space, there is 15% of institutions offer this online, but 7% of completions are online. So more institutions offer this online, and we're showing that students are interested in completing the program online. And it is one of the most popular programs to offer online, in the first percentile in terms of campuses who do offer it online. Degree fit. So we're trying to evaluate this program at the bachelor's level. So does this program fit at the bachelor's level? And the answer is yes. 91% of completions are at the bachelor's level, 87% of enrollment, and 47% of the workforce have a bachelor's level degree. However, important to note that 21% of the workforce have a master's degree. So this could point to a program that has legs to offer a higher degree also at an institution. The other piece of information that we have about this program is the average and median cost per student credit hour. So looking at Grade EI's internal cost benchmarking, this is in terms of the median, a more expensive program to offer. This is traditionally an area that the faculty themselves have higher salaries, and also typically have, depending on if the institution's an accredited business school, a lower faculty workload. And so those two factors alone can drive cost up significantly in terms of the cost to deliver the program. Overall, this is what it looks like to put the scorecard together. So in terms of a program to offer at the bachelor's level, this is a very healthy program. Lots of students who are interested in taking the program and completing it. There's good job opportunities for them. There's volume in terms of the market as well as high-paying jobs. And the competition is definitely there, but the ability to offer a large program at the institutions who offer it is also happening. Then just to talk about AI a little bit. So we had seen that lots of skills and that we're growing are centered around AI. This is something that we offered to generate for those of us who may not like to look at a page of numbers. You can simply download an AI report that translates those pages that we were looking at into a text summary that you can read paragraph by paragraph. Next, we have a quick summary. And so in terms of the first half of 2025, Google searches rose 19% year over year, with the largest program growth in sonography and ultrasound tech that grew by over 1.5 million searches. And the highest keyword search was for Ethan, which was definitely pre-planned since the product that I oversee is our economics product. Then in the fall and spring terms for 2025, total enrollment for certificate and associate programs rose 5% year over year, and same growth at the bachelor's and master's level of 2%. The programs with the largest enrollment growth year over year at the associate level was general studies, bachelor's level was finance, and business analytics was at the master's level. Overall in the US, job postings fell 4% year over year. But then in terms of growth, software developers had the highest growth in demand by occupation. And then in terms of skills, automation and operations were at the top of the list. And then just as a reminder and a caution to always think of the fact that students do not always go into the fields that they're directly prepared for. Environmental studies grads go into 754 occupations, not 4. And then last are about a program of the month. finance programs have lots of market demand, student demand, healthy employment, and there could be room in the online market. Next up is our monthly demand trends webinar in September on Thursday, the 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern. We also have other resources available for you. We have an academic program evaluation and management course, as well as a book, Start, Stop, or Grow, to look at program evaluation and management. And last but not least, returning to our important program profile giveaway. If you scan the QR code on the screen right now, you can sign yourself up to schedule a demo. If you participate in that demo, you can then be signed up to receive a free program profile worth about $3,000. So definitely worth it. You can even learn something on the demo too. So additional value add there. And hopefully that's got your interest. So please go ahead and scan.
So we do have time for a few more questions. Does anyone have a question they want to put in the chat or in the Q&A for Elizabeth? I also want to thank you for all of your feedback in the chat. We were having such a good time and a lot of fun. I really do appreciate it. And Ashley, please send me that program for your free scorecard. We'll get that right out to you.
Thank you, everyone.